everyone. Okay, so right from the jump, the Vegapunk we met at the end of the last week's episode reintroduces herself as Punk 2, Lilith, with the codename Evil, as well as, and following that, we meet two others throughout the episode, Punk 01 Shaka, who bears the codename Good, and a third near the end of the episode named Punk 5 Atlas, codenamed Violence, which, just from these introductions, you already get a better sense of what's going on and what that means, which in this episode, which is to say, Vegapunk pretty much made copies of himself out of each of his dormant personalities. The traits that make up a very fiber of human being are his own traits, his own personality quirks. He used that in order to foster as a base in order to create these duplicates of himself. And the fact that that's possible at all is just another notch in Vegapunk's belt that's showing how advanced his intellect is, to the point where when we do get introduced to the full spectacle of Egghead itself, that part is grand in scale and amazing technologically. It also feels like window dressing when taking in the smaller details, like the whole thing with the reveal of like the punks and whatnot. Still very cool, and the art team definitely went all out, making Egghead really pop in this episode. But the implication of Shaka and Lilith as well as Atlas does way more to kind of reinforce Vegapunk's intellect. With that said, we also check in with Bonnie and Luffy, where compared to the manga, the anime does not beat around the bush that, yeah, the father she's talking about is Kuma. And honestly, I have a bit of a weird feeling on that brief reveal the anime did, because on one hand, obviously, it's Kuma. There's only one person in existence we know Vegapunk turned into a cyborg. So it's not like that split second reveal is ruining a mystery or anything. But I wonder how this is going to play out in terms of the intrigue angle and how things are going to, and how that might affect the build up from here as terms of like building up to what really happened and the real reason all of that stuff between Vegapunk and Kuma went down. Like, it's one of those things where there's always another side to this thing, and this is like one of those things where, yeah, there's pretty much a lot that Bonnie doesn't know about what happened with her father. So it's interesting. I know it's going to sound weird to say, but I'm wondering how this earlier reveal is going to affect the kind of build up to that intrigue and whatnot. Now, with that said, I guess there's a bit of an elephant in the room to talk about with the reveal of Egghead itself, which is Toei went for a 2D, 3D combo with Egghead, so when getting a lot of the sweeping shots of the island, that's where a lot of the CG came into play, but when looking at the island a little more close-up, that's where there's a switch up to a more solid 2D art style. And honestly, normally this combo would be really distracting, and in some places it still was, like how they did use CGI for the dragon and robot fight happening above the island. But as far as how it applies to the island itself, they did use it in a way that I did feel was a little stylistic. Like there's no other way to describe it other than say the CGI felt like it was used in a way where I like how it emphasized the more futuristic aspects of the island, and just really kind of emphasized that yes, this island is a technological marvel. I feel that's where the CGI kind of really emphasized that fact, I think. The only concern for me is if this is the method they're going to use, I do feel Toei's going to have to get a little better. He's going to need to get a little better at working on how they balance when to use the 2D and when to use the CGI, 3D CGI a little better, because as good as I think they use the CGI, there were some brief moments where it felt like I was looking at an old CD-ROM game. Again, there were only brief moments, but they were brief enough to make an impact. Aside from that, though, I really like I really like how this island was translated into the anime, and yeah, I also like how of all the technological wonders we see from Egghead, the one that makes the biggest impression on Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper is the food dispenser. Like, that is just way too in character for it not to be real. Like, yeah, what more can I say there? Like, what can I say, frankly? Um, now, and I do, and yeah, but even beside that, I do like how this episode does kind of go out of its way to kind of very naturally, like, pretty much build pretty much do a lot of world building without feeling like it needs to do a whole like exposition dump or a big of a or a whole big of an exploration about the island. A lot of the world building and a lot of just getting to know the concepts and ideas of this island. A lot of them just came through the interactions that the characters were having with the island itself, and I really do appreciate that. Um, with all that being said, though, this was, as much as I love this episode, I also have to say this was probably one of the weaker episodes as well so far, in the sense where even though we met the other punk duplicates and we did explore quite a bit, did explore the island a bit. This is an episode that largely felt just purely like a setup episode, like really getting us into the vibe of Egghead Island and what to expect. But as far as the actual progression of the episode, that's where it was rather limited in that regard, which isn't me even saying, again, this was a bad episode, but neither were there like an immense amount of details I need to focus on or write down for this review. Although that's probably going to change very soon, because we're already getting with the introduction to pretty much three of the punk duplicates. We're already getting close to meeting the actual Vegapunk himself, as Bonnie herself alludes to at the end of the episode. Like, yeah, she questions Atlas isn't the real Vegapunk, but we're already when it comes to what was adapted into this episode versus when we actually meet Vegapunk, it adapted 1062, but from there it's like we're only 63, 64, 65. We're only like 3 episodes away. We're only 3 chapters away now from meeting the actual Vegapunk, which was chapter 1066. So it's like, yeah, we're already getting pretty close to Vegapunk himself, believe it or not. Um, and and but beyond this, but beyond that, like these, but beyond that, like I think the one thing to say about this episode more than anything is the first thing to understand from that is that these first chunk of episodes are kind of truly what you would call the introductory portions of the arc. Like these first, like, what is it, 3 episodes? Yeah, we basically got the introduction of the arc out of the way. After that point, like this arc is going balls to the wall insane. That is just full on what happens. And the funny thing is, it's the type of insanity I'm talking about is still large in scale, but also somehow manages to be rather emotionally intimate. It's intimate. It's a rather interesting balance Oda has crafted with this arc, specifically in the sense where when you look at like the Wano, like there were so many high stakes, high adrenaline moments where I'm not gonna say the more emotional moments didn't work, but it did feel like they were almost kind of on autopilot in Wano a bit, just a bit. But with this arc, we are going to get a lot of those same very high stakes moments, but simultaneous to that, it actually does allow for much more for a lot of more emotionally intimate moments to happen as well. So it's a very interesting. So it feels like, so as much as I hate to say this, as much as I don't hate Wano, I do admit it does feel like Oda kind of got back a little bit to finally found a bit more of a balance with Egghead than he pretty much did with Wano, honestly. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime signing off. Later, everyone.